All right, everybody, welcome to the HypnoExpo 2022 presenter series. We are gathered around our computers tonight in order to hear from Sheila Granger about the program that she's doing at the Hypnosis conference. And her talk is titled Hypnosis for Long-Term Health Conditions. And we're really looking forward to her presentation. I have known Sheila for quite a while, and for those of you who don't know, I can't imagine that anybody doesn't know that she is a virtual master band lady and attracted quite a lot of attention. At least that's how I first became aware of you, Sheila. I think it's before you even started coming to the States. But you have been around and around this organization. You do wonderful work with business models and helping people develop their practices in that way and stuff. And we are so happy to have you as a part of our community. So we're glad to have you here tonight.
Thank you very much indeed. It's good to be here. I have to say that, don't I? I have to say it's good to be here, even though I'm not quite sure it is. So it's 2:15 a.m. for me now in the UK, and so that's why my eyes are a little bit squinty. 'Cause
You look beautiful. I think you look beautiful.
I keep trying to force them open, but so I'm not quite sure if I want to talk about long-term health. I said to my partner tonight, he said, "You're doing what? At what time?" I said, "I'm talking about long-term health conditions and hypnosis." He said, "I'd say to them, can I change my presentation? I'd like to talk about sleep. I'd like to talk about sleep and how lovely my bed is. I'd like to talk about that." He said, "Why don't you ask them if you could do that instead?" But no, it's great to be here. And I'm really looking, being able to see people in person again.
Yes.
It'll be so interesting to see how much we've all aged, won't it? in the last couple of years. Zoom is great because you can apply different filters as well, can't you? So
That's what I was thinking earlier when you were talking about your eyes open. I think that there's some eyes that you can get to.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. The wake you up eyes. Yes, definitely. So no, I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody again, and it's always a real honour to be at the HypnoExpo because, of all the hypnosis conferences, HypnoExpo is, it's like a little family, and a real proper community where people are looking to genuinely help each other. So it's great. And we've all come through this awful period and getting out the other side of it again now and making a difference in the world again with hypnosis, which is what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, I heard the quotation today. These are the times that try men's souls. And I was like, oh man, isn't that one of those classic comments on the day and where we've been? So Sheila, over the last year, I've been aware a couple of times over the last couple of years. I think that you've struggled with some health issues of your own, and I'm sure that has a lot to do with why it is that you're involved in this. What can you tell us about your own experience with long-term health conditions?
Yeah, so have I got screen share available at all? Can I
Yeah.
share my screen?
Yeah. Do you need to be given permission?
I might need permissions. Let me see if it'll let me.
Now you should be able to do it.
Okay. Okay. So this is just I'm not going to play all this video to you, but it just gives you some idea and sort of a background, if you like, of what has been happening with me personally, and then what I'm hoping to inspire other people with, and how actually out of adversity they say that opportunities arise, and they certainly have in my case. Let me just play that. So I'm just going to actually, because that bit's a bit irrelevant to this presentation, so I'll just stop this share a minute. But so as you can see, Karen, I didn't look quite as bonny as you do when I was in the hospital bed. So on that video, it talks about twice being in intensive care in the last 12 months, and I then went on, and I'm not anti-vax by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know what people's views are on the vaccinations, but I'm not anti-vax. But in my case, because of this autoimmune and the body's response, but all vaccines put me in intensive care. So, and I made the mistake of not learning from the first one, the second, and then I had the third one, and the same thing happened again. I still don't know why. So yeah, so I've got this weird, and I call it weird because most people have never heard of it, this weird autoimmune called myasthenia gravis, which for the vast majority of the time I'm absolutely fine. I get a bit of muscle weakness going on, but really it means the more you do, the weaker your muscles become, and when it gets serious and goes into a crisis, it affects your ability to breathe, swallow. Can't stand up, can't hold myself up, can't talk properly. Very weird indeed. But there are millions of people, and there might even be people listening to this call, who have a long-term health condition themselves. And it was only when there was a few things in the hospital that made me think about it, but also predominantly when the doctors or the physios or somebody would say, you need to lower your goals. Why don't you just aim? Why don't you just aim to stand unaided for 1 minute, 1 month from now? They wanted to send me to a rehab unit. I'm just thought, I haven't got time for this. And it's weird how your mind works and what your motivators are, and I think we've always got to look at that, and my motivation changed each time it happened. So actually the first time it happened, which was really strange, so the first time this happened to me, I was supposed to be doing a webinar actually, and I'd paid quite a bit of money in Facebook advertising as well to get people to my webinar, and there was 480 people registered on the webinar. So it was a fairly substantial one, and it was due to happen, I think, on a Thursday evening, and on the Wednesday evening I ended up in one of these crisis situations at the hospital. I can't hold myself up, I can't talk properly, I can't even open my eyes properly, but in my own mind I was thinking, I wonder if I could do that webinar tomorrow night. I wonder if somebody brought me a phone. I wonder if I could still do that webinar. So I don't. We don't tend to give in easily, do we? And but out of adversity does come opportunity.
But before you go too much further, I've got to know, did you do the webinar the next night? Because it surprised me at all if you did. You're like the Energizer Bunny.
Yeah, even I thought, well, it wouldn't matter so much that I couldn't see anybody, but I would need somebody to speak it all, because I literally couldn't talk, which is a very bizarre experience when that happens, when you just can't, like your muscles, it's really strange, really strange. But yeah, I didn't, even I had to give in at that point and think, oh, I can't really do this, can I? Maybe the next day I could do it. So I think we've got to have a motivator, and the first time it happened, my grandson, who is now coming to 2 years old, but he was still very young on that, and throughout COVID, and I'm sure a lot of people, we couldn't see our families, could we? We were kind of locked down, we couldn't see our families, And so baby Henry was through FaceTime. So I spent a lot of time on FaceTime with baby Henry. And, my daughter had sent me that video of him babbling away, at me. And what they'd said to me in the hospital, you aim to stand in 1 minute unaided a month from now. And that evening, I played that video over and over and over again. And I just thought, no, I'm not doing this. I've got other things in my life. I've got things I want to get on with. This isn't going to, hold me back for that long. And then the second time it happened, throughout COVID, I'm sure a lot of us did, but the hypnosis businesses actually that did really well are the ones that kept educating, that kept helping, that just kept reaching out to people, not to sell anything to anybody, not to try and get people on a course, not to do anything, but help, and I thought there was probably a lot of hypnosis practitioners that would actually struggle during COVID period. So I deliberately went out and delivered free courses. I did everything I possibly could to help people, encourage people, inspire people to keep going and to do different things. And there were so many people around the world that I was trying to help that I thought, I cannot sit in this hospital. I've promised these people that I'll help them, and that is what's going to happen. So it's strange how our motivators can change, but we've got to have one. Yeah. We've got to have a reason to especially with long-term health conditions. And what I find as well is that when we do this as a it's an area that we go into, then other opportunities seem to appear. There's old doctors, physicians, physios, whatever. If they're not getting anywhere with somebody, they all sit and scratch their heads, don't they? It's like, I've given all the drugs, I've tried that. Have you tried this drug? I'll try you on that one. That hasn't worked. Oh, what can I do now? Could I send you to a counsellor? And if the person keeps coming back, it's like, what am I going to do next? So actually, with any long-term health condition, there is a percentage overlay of psychological. There is with any long-term health condition, we've got a percentage overlay of psychological. But it's weird how opportunities happen. Some people say, oh, it's because you're never actually off work. Your brain is always on hypnosis and, furthering that. And I had a conversation while I was in the hospital on one of these occasions with a consultant neurologist. And as a result of that conversation, a conversation when I wasn't looking very bonny, I have to say, and I couldn't talk properly. And out of that conversation, we are now co-authoring 5 books. So I'm working with this consultant neurologist, and we're actually looking at the 5, what they describe as the main big cats of neurology. So motor neuron disease, muscular dystrophy, multiple sclerosis, and he is obviously writing from a medical perspective. I am writing from the mindset perspective of these things, and hypnosis, psychological strategies, and it's with a view to all of these books will be bought in by the National Health Service to give to the patients.
There's, if you don't mind, something that I'd love to say about you. So I'm gonna gush, Sheila, just a little bit more about you, because I remember the program that you did where you were talking to people about building their businesses, and you have this thing, whether it's your connection, it's about connection, whether it's your connection with your family and baby Henry, for instance. What a wonderful thing to share with us, or connection with your students that have been students of yours in the past, and your sense of responsibility to them. But also what I see you doing over and over and over again is finding ways to get yourself out into the community in a way that makes a difference in a larger sense in the world. And if there's a way, if that's contagious, then I think people ought to get within 6 feet of you as possibly can for just that.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. Thank you. I know it's so strange, isn't it? You know, like I don't come from any, you know, like most of us, we kind of fall into the hypnosis world, don't we? It's like none of us were at school thinking, I think when I grow up, I want to be a hypnotist. You know, that was never the case, was it? It was never the case. And,
Tried
but you know,
everything else, and finally the only one left.
yeah. But you know, 12 years ago, I've been in full-time practice for over 12 years now, and I can honestly say that, well, 13 years ago when I took the training course, you know, my life and the person I have become have completely changed, completely changed. You know, if we've got a passion for something, and yeah, I do have a strong sense of responsibility. And I think, you know, and I completely embrace.
Uh-oh.
Well, we
Karen,
had
did you-
just a tiny glitch. But Sheila will notice it and she'll either bounce off and bounce back on or whatever she needs to. So,
Well, in fact, I see her screen's just gone black, so it may very well be that she's bouncing off and coming back.
right.
So in the meantime, by the way, I noticed that in the chat room, and I really apologize for this, Tom, but Tom wrote to everyone, and I don't know if it was during Sherry's presentation or if it was during Sheila's. So I
I
apologize.
believe that was doing Sherry's,
But the answer is the same. He says, can we attend your class online if we weren't planning on going to Orlando? Is it offered on Zoom? And sadly, I'm afraid that the answer to that is no with regard to the pre and post conference programs, Tom. So it may very well be that the people that we're talking to offer classes separately from the conference. You may want to check in with them about that as a possibility. But during the conference, it's only Friday, Saturday, and Sunday lectures that are being streamed as a part of the streaming conference, and nothing in the pre and post at all. So I regret to tell you, but that's the deal.
and Sheila is back. You're muted, but we're so delighted that I knew that you would bounce off and bounce right back on.
I know, I thought, oh, they've all gone.
And you just froze, but it's lovely, and you're back. And let me get us back on track for a moment.
Yes, yes.
Long COVID, of course, is one of the things, but I don't think that that's the only thing that you're talking about with long health term conditions. But COVID is the big deal at the moment. So do you have a case study of working with someone with long COVID and how it actually looks?
Yeah, so I'm just going to share my screen again, then I'll talk to you about this guy.
Oh, I probably got to let you do it again.
Oh,
Oh, it's
okay.
okay. We should be able. We should be able.
Let me just, actually, maybe if I open him up a bit and then let's see if it picks it up this time. Yes, here we go. So I just want to share this guy with you.
Hello everyone, my name's Carl Young. I'm 58-year-old. I was diagnosed with COVID in March of 2020 and was very seriously ill, in a coma, ventilated for about 3 weeks. I came out after about a month in hospital, but I've suffered with long COVID ever since. I've had a tough year, but I, through my own investigations, found out about Sheila. Firstly, about the work she does, and I also bought a book myself, which I found very, very interesting and very helpful. It did help me in a lot of ways to try and learn to understand what I've been through, and also through sessions with Sheila, my life is changing slowly back to the way I wanted it, because I was told that I'd never be able to work again. I mean, I'm not getting there just yet, but I'm getting there with Sheila's help, and I'll suggest anybody, you know, if you need any help, to contact Sheila, or definitely buy the book anyway. Hello everyone.
Oh,
My
so
name's Carl
excited again.
Young.
Stop.
I'm 58-year-old.
Stop. You don't
I
rewind.
was
Okay, so I'll tell you about this gentleman who is actually now, I have to say, back at work as he's a lorry driver, truck driver, and he's now back at work. When I first saw him, he was a bit of a mess, and he was also very angry of where his life was. He was suffering with the effects of long COVID, so he had fatigue issues, he had anxiety because of the kind of he'd been through a bit of a trauma while he'd been in intensive care, and that whole experience had caused quite a trauma for him. They told him he wouldn't work again, and he kind of thought that was his lot, and he had to accept that. Because if he had the fatigue and muscle fatigue, he couldn't really be a truck driver. So we started doing some work on the different aspects of that. And I think sometimes with long-term health conditions, it's a little bit different to I would class, like, if you like, my normal hypnosis sessions. So with normal hypnosis sessions, we don't really want to know the story, do we? We don't have to know the story. It's like, stop, I've had enough. How do we want to be? What language patterns have I got to work with? We don't need the whole involved story. But often with long-term health conditions, it's slightly different in that we've got to think about what relationship does this client actually need as well to get better. Because often with long-term health conditions, some of the autoimmune things, some people have had a long journey to get that diagnosis in the first place. They've had to fight for a diagnosis. They've been told it's all in their head, that they're making it up. It's not real. They're not suffering with this thing, when all along they have been. But that becomes a little bit of a trauma going through that process. So often with long-term health conditions, what a client needs to start with is to feel like they're being listened to, that they're having the opportunity to tell their story to somebody and be believed. The other good thing about long-term health conditions, long COVID included, is the people who you get to come and see you, who tend to ring you up, tend to be highly motivated people. They're not people who just want to accept their lot. They're not people who are in wearing the label mode, if you like. But people have got to want, like any hypnosis session, people have got to want to change, or they've got to want to have some improvement in their life. We can't wave that magic wand if they don't want it. I always say we can't want the change more than the client does. And often we do, don't we, with some people? We do have some clients who we think, we really want the change, but they haven't got that same motivation behind it. So that particular gentleman, although he can be paid for people with long-term health conditions, that particular gentleman was on Social Security benefits. And he couldn't afford my session rate. Absolutely not. It just wouldn't have happened for him. So, I'm a bit like a Robin Hood kind of person. The people who can afford to pay me will be charged, and charged very well for that. But the people who can't, I'm not going to turn away an opportunity to help somebody if I can, if they are motivated. So I got him to bring me an apple every week. I like to bring me an apple. You can bring different varieties, that's okay. But he brought me an apple each week, and I saw him for about 5 weeks. Well, I saw him for about 4, and then he went away, and I caught up with him again afterwards. But he, completely changed his perspective on life. He got out of victim mode, and kind of, this has happened to me and I'm being left in this kind of position. And he started focusing again on what he could do. as opposed to what he can't do. It had to be realistic steps. Of course, we always have to do things that are realistic, don't we? But it was realistic steps. Him and his wife started to enjoy their relationship again. He was telling me how much he loved his wife, but he said, I've become a completely different person. She used to love me because I made her laugh all the time, and I'm just angry and miserable all the time, and I know that's affecting our relationship. And he said now, they're back to how things were before. He's not dwelling on what's happened to him anymore, but he's focused much more on the future. So it was a real good news story, and it was a real bloke as well, So it was lovely to have the opportunity to work with him, but we only need to. I'm sure we all have friends, family, people we know who have got long-term health conditions, and some of those people will drive you mad, literally. Because I was adopted when I was 6 weeks old, and I think, to be honest with you, sometimes negatives drive positives, don't they? It's how we view things, isn't it? And the story that I tell myself, the script that I have, is that I wasn't good enough when I was born, so I was given away, and my adoptive parents had a good childhood. I can't complain, but my adoptive parents were super critical. So I've kind of grown up with an uneasy feeling, if you like, that I'm not quite good enough. But what I say is that's driven my business. That drives my business to do, I'll do the next thing then. I'll have to do the next thing. I'll have to do the next thing. I just think there's a little bit of a yin to a yang there. I think maybe there's a little bit of autoimmune because I've done that too much. But actually, it's using those negatives in a very positive way to drive things forward. But my birth mum, who I've met, get on great. She had complete renal failure about 6 years ago now. Was on dialysis 3 times a week. Well, I kid you not, she can talk about nothing else until it drives you mad. If she was to pop onto this Zoom call now, within 2 minutes she'd have brought this conversation round to her fluid levels. I know all about the various doctors and nurses at the hospital who treat her. Oh, she's one of these people who she'll say, oh, I have that nurse, Sally. Well, Sally's husband is a painter and decorator, and he was working at a house that was round the corner from Tesco's. You know that road that, it goes round the corner in a semicircle, and he was working, and it's like one of those conversations where you think, hang on a minute, why am I even being told this? But it's her complete obsession, and she has become that person. And there is no, she's wearing the label in its entirety. There is, as far as she comes, even though there are other things in her life, she's not grasping those. Now, she would not respond to hypnosis sessions because there is no motivator. She enjoys, if you like, I'm not sure she enjoys having died, but on some level, she now enjoys the space that she's living in.
Sure.
But the people who come to us for long-term health conditions, who actually come, they are highly motivated people. So we tend to actually get change as well fairly quickly. And some of the main ones that people will come for tend to be, I'll go through the top 3 ones, is fatigue. If we've got fatigue, then we can't do the things that we want to do. We run out of they call it this. There's a spoon theory, isn't it? We've all got so many spoons a day, and how many spoons are we going to use for breakfast, and how many are going to need to go on, put the bins out, or just normal life. So some people will come for fatigue. So that's a big one, and one that we can make quite a difference with hypnosis.
And one that's often called fibromyalgia as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. So fibromyalgia. Um, People will come for
Chronic
brain.
fatigue syndrome.
Yeah, chronic fatigue system, but anyone that drains our energy levels creates fatigue on some level. The other one is brain fog. People's kind of cognitive activities, their ability to sit and read a book, and or anxiety. People want that sense of control back in their life again. So all those three areas, we can fairly easily look at with hypnosis. And often, what they're coming with in the story, as with any hypnosis sessions, isn't really the issue at all, is it? The issue is never the issue, is it? It's generally something else completely. But we can create so many marginal gains with hypnosis. And if we blend, which is what really happened with the book that I did, we blended general psychological strategies that are accepted in the world of psychology, and then we can amplify those with hypnosis sessions, and we're getting even more of an edge with helping people. And it's an area, I was talking to a lady who was a hypnotist in Australia actually yesterday, and she really impressed me, because one of the things I often say is about, when we're getting out into our community, we've got to let doctors know what it is that we can do and how we can help. And, what we all tend to do really is maybe just see us, talk to a smattering of people. And this particular lady, she said, she'd listened to what I'd said once about talking to doctors, and she said, what I've done is I've gone and spoken to 172 doctors. I'm like, how many? 172. But that lady is now sitting on an all referral practice.
Nice.
Because she has 172 doctors sending referrals to her. So, and often, we kind of give up on that kind of referral system too early. We talk to a few people and, because, I have it where different doctors have different opinions, don't they? We're always doing that education piece. And with some, we'll do the education piece and they're still not interested, they still don't believe us, and they still don't think that it's going to work. So it then becomes a numbers game, doesn't it? So if we talk to 172 of them, then we're going to get somewhere. But what I wanted to do was, just for the people who were on the call, if it would be helpful to people, I am just if I can put in my chat box. If anybody wants to send me an email to think@SheilaGranger.com, I have a video that I think might be useful to you, which I'll play now. And this video that I'm going to play has my contact details on the front and mine at the end, but I'm lucky enough to have a full-time video editor who works for me. So I'm quite happy if this video will be useful to you so that you can educate people about what you can do, then I will gift you that video and I will ask for your contact details. I'll take all of mine off it and we'll just put yours on and your contact details instead. So I'll just quickly show you this video, which kind of explains things a little bit in medical speak, I guess. Let me just share my screen again. Okay, I'll just quickly play this one. So this really talks about medical hypnosis. So I'm quite happy if that is beneficial to people who have been listening to this call today. All you need to do is email me and say, I was on the IMDHA IACT call, you mentioned this video, I'll ask you to send you your contact details and any photo or logo that you'd like us to use, and I'll get my video guy to get one of those done for you, completely complimentary.
Wow.
That's an amazing offer. And by the way, it's not the first time I've seen Sheila be quite this generous. I had one of those done before. It's beautiful. I mean, you are put into this spot, so it's beautiful. I'm going to get this one too, Sheila.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. I have a whole catalogue of them to choose from. Yeah, I tend to, I'm very lucky with this guy that is full time for me. And again, like, with hypnosis and with any area that we work in, even if we're niching in a topic, we've still got to continually do that education piece. And we've got to do it consistently. And at the moment, what I'm doing with a lot of the videos is asking the questions that people are typing into Google right now. What are they actually typing in? Because a lot of the time, they're not typing in necessarily, they may be typing in hypnosis for weight or hypnosis for stop smoking, but they'll type in questions like, is hypnosis real? Or they'll type, can hypnosis help me sleep better? And so the videos that I'm doing are actually answering the questions that the public are typing into Google, and video is the way forward. If people on the call aren't doing video, I really urge you to start doing it, because we're being dragged kicking and screaming if necessary, but kicking and screaming, so that's the direction that marketing's going. But with the videos as well, what you tend to find with that medical one is, if you get opportunity to speak to a doctor or a nurse or anybody in the health field who doesn't really understand how hypnosis works, you can send them the video. Yeah. Have a look at this video, this explains it to you.
It's such a beautiful approach anyway, because you are asking the question or answering the questions that are being asked. And this is what you said earlier, and I just want to echo it again, because it's personally important to me. You said something about people wanting to be heard. Before you were on the call, I mentioned I went to a specialist yesterday. The doctor was in the office 4 minutes, and when he left, I had never been so confused in my life about what he had said to me and what the implications of it were or anything. And I think I would come to see you because you're not the doctor.
Yeah, absolutely, yes, yeah, and that is, partly sometimes what happens, but isn't that what happens with a lot of our work that we do? That reminds me of, a few years ago now, I was doing a lot of work in schools and colleges, so I'll go and do an assembly in my local school or college on mindset or exam stress, because really it gets your foot in the door and they trust you and you do, so much more. But that we were doing weekly drop-in sessions at one point during exam periods at a certain school, and I was getting students coming just to have if they had a problem during exam period, there was somebody they could come and talk to about it. I was sorting out issues that the school could quite easily sort out. I was doing nothing with hypnosis, but I was somebody who wasn't the school, really. So I remember a young man talking about he was worried about his the math exam that he was doing. Look at me, American, the math, not maths in the UK, math. The math exam. That's me getting build up to the IACT, you see, in the conferences. Start speaking American. So yeah, he had this build up and he was worried about it. And I said, is it that you can't recall the information, or is it that you don't understand it? Because if we don't understand it, we're not going to be able to recall it, are we? And he said, yeah, I just don't understand it. So I just spoke to the school and they said, oh, that's not an issue, we can get him extra classes. Got him extra classes sorted out. But he didn't feel he could say that to the school. So sometimes it is, what is it that we need from somebody? Is, what role are we playing here?
Yeah, I noticed, by the way, and I hate to say this, we're like minutes away from the end of your time. So I want to be sure that if there's something that you especially want to share, that you get it in here. And also just to acknowledge that Gabriella Walker has had her hand up for a little while. So Gabriella, if you have a question for us and you can unmute your microphone, why don't you go ahead and ask that? And
yes, thank you so much, Michael. Just a brief question. Sheila, do you happen to have a link to the video that you just showed? We can share it on our websites and then you'll have a lot of views.
Yeah, what you'd have to do, Gabriella, can you just email me and I can send you the link? It's not on my website, that video, at the moment.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Well, what I can do is kind of send it to you via Dropbox or WeTransfer.
Okay.
So I can do that. I can't believe how fast that time has gone by.
I know.
And as it is this time in the morning, I'm going to insist that you all stay on for at least another 30 minutes. No, I'm only kidding. But I would like, if I could, just very quickly to finish off, I have had a jingle produced for my business, and I'd be interested to know what you all think about it. And the reason I'd like to know what you all think about it is I'm going to be playing it at the expo. So it might be a worm that gets in. I want to know if it's a worm that's going to get into your head. So can I just quickly, it's only a 30-second thing, just quickly play it and then we can end. Right then, let's see if this will play. Believe you can achieve when you receive the tools you're looking for. Don't let business be missed. Be a sought-out hypnotist. Bring your hypnotherapy to more in your community. Believe you can achieve with Sheila Granger, your circumstance changer. Believe you can achieve when you receive the tools you're looking for.
Sheila Granger, what kind of a change?
Oh, sorry, we're still playing. It's moved on to something else. Sorry, I moved on to Joe Jackson or something then.
Well, that was beautiful, and we loved watching you dance as well. That was-
Yes.
Dance and sing along.
So everybody, Sheila is such a delight, and again, she has so much to share. So do this class, man. What more can I say? It's going to make a difference in your work, and although we didn't talk a lot about it, one of the things that is really true about Sheila is she understands how to take this out into the world and create a business with it. So you're going to get some information about that. It's all part of the deal. So do that, Sheila. I also want to let everybody know that on Saturday you're going to be doing a 50-minute or however long those 1 hour. I keep forgetting how long an hour is, but
Yes.
And I think they're 45 minutes actually.
on hypnosis for weight loss. So also
Yes.
something you're going to want to see.
And that is interactive. So what I want people to do is to bring along some food or a particular type of food that they'd like to eat less of. And we're actually going to do this thing within that time.
I've got to tell you, everything that I'd like to eat less of, I really want to eat more of. So
Well, I don't know about in America, but here in the UK, habits changed a lot during the various lockdowns.
Yeah.
And during the first lockdown, we all got into baking. We baked cakes, we baked bread all day, every day, and then we ate it all, of course. So we did lots of bake. We're going to get into baking and cooking, and we're going to eat it. That was the first lockdown. Lockdown number 2, we all got into exercise. Oh, we're all going to start running and jogging and be out in the park, and that's how I'm going to use my lockdown period, because we were allowed an hour out of the house, so we're all going to use that time productively. Third lockdown, nobody can be asked to do anything. We're just going to sit on the sofa and vegetate.
Binge a lot of Netflix.
Exactly, yes. So habits changed a lot during lockdown. And of course, it's habits, so people find it difficult to then stop that afterwards.
well, lovely talking with you, Sheila. Hypnosis.
Yeah,
for
thank
long-term
you.
conditions at the expo, everybody. And thank you so much for being here tonight. Next week, a week from now, by the way, will be the last evening of the presenter series. And I've got to tell you, and with all respect to Sheila and Sherry, we saved the best for last. Because my co-host Karen Hand is going to be one of the presenters next week, and also Shelley Stockwell Nicholas, that a lot of you love and enjoy. So we're going to have a wonderful time a week from now as well. So come on back and bring your friends.
Can't wait to see you, Sheila.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing everybody. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Thank you very much. You're very
All
good.
right, take care. Thank you. Thanks, Michael. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everybody.